Let's go way back. I was in an office environment, and while I was doing really well, I felt like I was constantly pounding my head against the wall. I was running a team and actually running several different teams, and there was a lot of what felt like friction day to day. How many of you have ever been in a scenario, you're watching this and you're going, I can totally get that banging my head against the wall. You've experienced fatigue, you've experienced stress or tension and frustration in a work environment. Just say yes in the comments if that's you, or if you want to share what was going on, that's great too. What I realized back then was that there was some key ingredient that was missing. I wasn't sure what it was, but there was something that just wasn't clicking right. And you've probably been there, right? You've probably been in a scenario where something just didn't click. And you knew in your gut, but you weren't sure what it was. Well, here's the thing that happens so often. You guys have heard me talk about DISC, and you've heard me talk about, Myers-Briggs and that sort of thing. The thing is, there's actually three parts to the mind that go into you being most effective. There's the cognitive, the affective, and the conative. Most people are like, the conative, what the heck is that? And maybe affective, you're wondering what that is. So cognitive, affective, and conative. Basically, that's your thinking, your being, and your doing parts of your mind. Now, here's the thing. In each of those, we all have the ability to do lots of different things in those arenas. So, like when someone takes DISC, for instance, that's measuring affective, right? Or Myers-Briggs or StrengthsFinder or something like that. That's measuring the affective part of the brain. Here's the thing, you have all of the components that are covered in those tests. There are certain areas where you operate more naturally and it's just more your way of being. Well, the same thing is true in your conative. Your conative is the doing, it's how you do things. And when you are in a situation where you're being asked to operate outside of what your norm is, you may be perfectly fine at getting it done. And what happens is when you have your natural way of being, your inherent way, not being, doing, you have your inherent way of doing things, right? If you aren't being forced, if you're operating at free will, if you're motivated and you have your striving, your striving instinct is to do a particular thing, you have a particular way that you do it. Think about when if there is a project that you have freedom to do it the way you want to do it, there's a certain way that you do that. The issue is that a good portion of the time, we're not allowed to do that because of what's happening in the team, or it could be in a relationship, a personal relationship with a spouse or a significant other or your kids, right? And you're operating as if you are something else rather than your natural way of being, or you are pushing other people to behave the same way that you do, to operate the same way that you do, rather than giving them freedom to operate the way that is their natural way of being. All of this is to say that it's super easy to there's a test that takes just a few minutes to do it. It's called the Colby test. If it's something that you're interested in doing, it's part of what I do with my coaching clients, and I do this with a lot of corporate clients as well. It's a different way of looking at how it is that you do everything you do, right? What is your natural way of doing it, as opposed to the being part of your brain, right? The DISC measures, your dominance, your interpersonal, your support, your compliance, etc. Myers-Briggs, measures introvert versus extrovert versus intuition versus thinking and judging and feeling and perceiving. And, those are the emotive parts, the emotional parts, right? So the doing part is something that we don't often think about. Think about people who just naturally, can pick up some tool and they're very good at using it. It's some implement and they're very good at using it. It's just their natural way of being, of doing. And so my encouragement to you is, whether it's with me or it's with someone else, explore this part of your way of doing things. Because what happens is, when you can get an alignment with your natural way of doing, then your energy level goes way up. Your focus level goes way up. Your excelling level goes way up. Your achieving level goes way up, because you are operating within your inherent way of being. Here's the other thing with this particular test. What studies have shown is that it doesn't change. The only time that it might change is if you take it the first time, when you are in a major place of transition, or some major conflict is going on in your life. Maybe you're in the middle of a divorce or a move, or your job is changing dramatically, or something like that. Then you may get a result that is not your true self. Okay. And there's ways to figure that out. However, when you look at DISC, when you look at Myers-Briggs, those often will shift based on what's going on around you. For me, they haven't shifted a whole lot, but I know a lot of people where they've shifted dramatically, like they've gone from introvert to extrovert, or intuition to, I can't remember what the other one is. Anyway, so just know that when you are looking at trying to measure your best way of operating, there are multiple ways to look at it. And don't forget, there's also that part of the brain, right? The subconscious part of the brain that is driving 90+% of every decision you make, action you take, and result that you get. And when that is piled on top of all of these other things, where you're not operating in your most what's the word I'm looking for, where you have the most potential to succeed, then you're going to have that much more friction. So I'd love to chat with you about it. If there's questions that you have about it, put them in the comments, because this is just, it's such a fascinating part of the work that I do with clients. And I love being able to further empower teams and individuals so that you can operate at your highest level. I work with high performers, high achievers, and to be able to put them in even a higher level is so incredible. And you can do that for yourself too. So I would love for you to schedule a call. We'll just chat, see what's going on, see if it's something that would work well for you. And you can get scheduled by going to my link tree. You can see that on the screen just below my name. It's linktr.ee/AW Stillwell. And there is a link on, there's a button on my link tree where you can get scheduled to have a quick chat. I just want to find out more about what you're doing, where you're striving, where you're excelling, and any questions that you might have. I mean, heck, it may not be a great fit. Listen, I turn away potential clients frequently when it's not a great fit. So this isn't a sales call. This is really just finding out what's going on with you, where are your pluses, where are your minuses, and helping you make a decision on what your best next step is, right? Helping you get to a place to where you can make that decision. So often we find ourselves questioning ourselves and being in that place of, do I trust myself to make the right decision? And let me tell you something, when you're not operating from your optimal way of being, doing, and thinking, then yes, you're not going to trust yourself. So if you find yourself in a place where you're wondering, you're questioning yourself regularly, odds are really good you're not operating from your place. You have a place and a mode of operating in your thinking, being, and in your doing. Figure out what those natural ways are and get your life in alignment all around you. Get your life in alignment so that you can operate from that place more regularly, and your life will be amazing. Let me just tell you, as I have done this, my life has become so much easier. You guys, the stress level is so much lower. I can walk away from things that don't serve me or my purpose. I can bring in people to do the things that are not in my wheelhouse. And it's easier for me to diagnose. Look, I am really good at a lot of different things. Doesn't mean that they're truly in my wheelhouse. Does not mean that they are truly in my wheelhouse. Okay. And my guess is that you're in that same place. You can do all sorts of things. And if it's not in your wheelhouse, you're exhausted at the end. You're irritated. You're frustrated. You find yourself not optimal. So hop on Linktree and go in and get a call scheduled. It's probably a week or so out before I have availability. I'm not sure what my schedule is like. I know the rest of this week is insane. So I look forward to chatting with you. Again, you can just go to the link tree that's on the screen, and I look forward to chatting with you and seeing, what is your best next step, right? Let's figure that out. Let's figure that out together. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. And I can't wait to see you soon.